I'm sure every gamer has their favorite developer. Whether it's because they made your favorite game, favorite franchise, maybe they fill a particular niche you're looking for, or maybe they have a distinct style that always puts a smile on your face, or maybe they're just that damn good. Which brings me to Sucker Punch, the developer that is, not the Zack Snyder film from 2011. Does anyone even remember that film? Anyway, they're a developer that has been around for nearly 30 years, has seen universal acclaim across every one of their titles, and yet at the same time, they don't tend to come up in a lot of discussions regarding the best game developers, at least not from my experience. And so naturally, when I saw the announcement of their newest game, Ghosts of Yōtei, I thought it'd be fun to do a retrospective on the company and all its games. I'd been thinking about doing a retrospective like this for a while, and with the lead up to Yōtei's release, I could see no other fitting candidate to try this out on. And considering the year is 2026, Yōtei released in October last year, and I'm only starting this now, I'd say we're off to a great start. So let's begin nice and easy with their very first game, Rocket Robot on Wheels for the Nintendo 64. Yeah, despite most of their games being relegated to Sony, they originally started out on a Nintendo system, released in 1999 when gaming was in its arguably most creative period, as consoles had managed to break through the barriers of the third dimension. While I wasn't there personally, I can only imagine how surreal the leap from 4th gen to 5th gen felt at the time. Going from Super Mario World to Super Mario 64, from Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time, from Final Fantasy VI to 7, from Metal Gear to Metal Gear. Solid, truly mind-blowing stuff, and the variety was off the charts with the likes of stealth action, survival horror, action-adventure, extreme sports, open world, and of course, 3D platformers, much like the one in today's video. But how did this game come to be, you ask? Well, it all started when Chris Zimmerman was one day working his job at Microsoft, and he decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and so opted to start a video games company. And so he, along with a few of his co-workers, them being Brian Fleming, Bruce Oberg, Tom Saxton, Kathy Saxton, and Daryl Plank, all helped in creating the company, and thus on October 1997, Sucker Punch Productions was born. Fun fact, the name actually comes from a project that they had pitched to Microsoft, but it was ultimately rejected. Well, that was the code name anyway, there's not much info. Now initially things did seem troubled as the devs weren't fully confident in their abilities to compete with the diverse roster of titles on the market. I mean, who could blame them? Technology was moving fast and games were getting bigger, and not to mention getting much more costly to make. They were initially going to create a puzzle-style game inspired by The Incredible Machine, but essentially in 3D. But the project was quickly scrapped, and soon after, both Saxtons decided to leave the company in 1998, less than a year after the company was founded, and before they'd even released anything. Things were looking pretty rough, but thankfully the team would soon turn things around, as they began crafting a prototype for their first game. And while the team did manage to obtain a development kit from Nintendo, they still needed a publisher, as it turned out Nintendo weren't interested in doing that themselves. So the team got to work, going as far to pour their own money into this thing, showing that despite their lack of experience, they were determined to get this thing off the ground. Initially under the title of Sprocket, Sucker Punch began approaching multiple potential publishers. They pitched it to Activision and Acclaimed, but no dice. They were rejected by Sony due to it being made for their competition. EA did approach them with a deal to make a game for the PlayStation 2, which hadn't released yet, but that would have meant scrapping all of their work and starting from scratch, so they declined. They nearly landed a deal with THQ, but for whatever reason the plans fell through. But thankfully, after presenting the game to E3 1999 and receiving some relatively positive attention, they managed to land a deal with Ubisoft. And oh man, the old Ubisoft logo, anyone even remember that? I feel like I've been transported to an alternate dimension. So long story short, despite the rocky journey, the game was looking to be underway as Sucker Punch had taken all the necessary steps to launch Sprocket to the masses. But there was a new bump in the road soon to rear its ugly head, as the team would be faced with a legal dispute, effectively forcing them to change the name of their game, because apparently the name Sprocket is legally tied to game sprockets and whatnot. I don't know, copyright's confusing and a bitch. So they opted to quickly change the name, which is how we got the name today, Rocket Robot on Wheels. So we've established the backstory, but now the new question is, what kind of game is this anyway? Well, the short answer is that it is a 3D platforming collectathon. As you roam around big colourful environments exploring for various collectibles, and you earn them by completing certain tasks in order to progress through the game. So think Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. And in Rocket's case, those collectibles being tickets, which makes sense, the setting is an amusement park. You can explore the whole level at your leisure and collect the tickets in any order you feel like. Compared to Mario 64, which not only splits up each Power Star objective into essentially separate levels, but the game will also automatically boot you out once a star is collected, meaning you'll have to keep jumping back into the level each and every time. Not here though, you simply get a ticket and keep moving. What also gives Rocket an edge over Mario is that these levels feel more vast, adding extra layers of satisfaction to the exploration. That's not all though, as one of this game's biggest features is its impressive physics engine. Of course, many games prior to this had utilized a level of physics in some capacity, but very few utilized it throughout the entire game quite like Rocket does. And I tell you, they did not mess around with this, as picking up and throwing objects is one of the game's central mechanics. Carrying and throwing objects feels heavy like there's pushback, and upon landing they react to the terrain and geometry with a lot of momentum. Granted, some objects can look a bit weightless when doing so, but it's not too noticeable. And it's not just the mechanics either. Rocket himself is a great showcase for this engine. When moving, you really do feel like you're on wheels. Well, a wheel. You can feel that forward momentum. Turning is responsive and natural with each nudge of the analog stick. When Rocket dies, he turns stone dead and can potentially bounce around all over the place. Jumping is also snappy and has tons of weight to it, whether it's a little hop or a full jump. Same applies to the double jump as well, as rockets give you an extra boost in the air. Clever idea making the double jump something actually tangible as opposed to just defying gravity like most characters do. Really shows that while Rocket's design may be simple, but the game still does a lot of cool things with him. Compare this to Glover, another 3D platformer that came out a year prior. That game heavily revolves around the use of rolling ball physics and bouncing it around, but unlike with Rocket, Glover just doesn't feel as fun or satisfying, as the physics feel weightless by comparison, or just don't function as well as they could. At least that's how I felt. Now, unlike their later games, this game is incredibly light on story, and it's also quite simple. It's the night before the opening of our theme park, Whoopee World. The owner, Dr. Gavin, is heading off to a party and so leaves the park in our hands, as well as the two animal mascots, the walrus Whoopee and the raccoon Jojo. The latter of whom, seemingly tired of playing second fiddle, decides to steal Whoopee, seize control of the park, and rebrand it in his own name. He also knocks out Rocket with a mallet. Now that's funny, as is Jojo pulling out his big sheet of plans and somehow Rocket doesn't notice that. I mean, he's clearly staring right at him. I like how the doctor just says, over and over again. I like that more than the noises in Banjo. Also, the doctor's face is just a black void of nothing, for some reason. What, did they not have enough time to design a human face for him? Couldn't you have just kept his head obscured from the camera? I mean, that would have made more sense if you ask me. And yeah, that's the gist really, as our resolve is to collect the various tickets and tinker tokens to regain control of each park world and bring the raccoon down. And also, before anyone comments, yes, I'm well aware. Our name is Rocket, the villain is a raccoon. I doubt it was a reference, but it's pretty funny in hindsight. During the adventure we run into another robot named Tinker, who will not only offer us various hints scattered throughout the levels, but if we bring him enough of the game's Tinker tokens, silver being worth 1, gold being worth 5, and purple being worth 10, then we will unlock a brand new move, such as a freeze ray, a slam attack, a double jump, and a grappling hook. You can also come across a fair amount of health upgrades throughout the game. I've already mentioned the double jump, but it's definitely my favourite of the bunch, as it is just once again immensely satisfying. The grappling hook has its moments, especially when grabbing from a great distance. Didn't always happen, but it was cool when it did, even if the aiming tended to be really awkward. Freeze ray is mostly just used for making small ice platforms on water, and yeah, that's it. Not much else to say. You can use it to freeze enemies, but to be honest, I barely bothered to do that because I don't know, I just didn't use it. The slam is definitely what you'll use the most, as it's your main form of attack. Just grab the enemy and go in for the kill. but be quick, as they can still attack you despite being in your grasp. Especially as the game goes on, I swear some of these enemies will attack you in less than a second, and sometimes they'll straight up chase you down the second you're in their sights. I mean, check this out, chasing me all the way up here of all things. What, did you have a personal vendetta against Rocket or something? Despite that, I feel the game's relatively fair in its difficulty when it comes to platforming and some of the ticket tasks. More on that in a bit. Health pickups are also not that common, but at the same time, dying isn't that consequential since you just spawn back to the start of the level. It helps that there's no life system, thank God. I don't mind them in games that are just about the platforming, but in collectathons they just feel arbitrary and are usually pretty stingy with handing them out. Now in regards to the levels, the game only has 6, well I suppose 7 if you count the main hub, which does have collectibles and segments of platforming, so I guess it counts. Despite the small level roster, each one actually feels incredibly meaty with content that I honestly don't mind, and the theme park setting is put to good use with tons of unique scenery, and every level feels distinct in visuals and design. Clowny Island starts on this big open beach area with some separate rooms for platforming hidden about. Oh wait, there's also this mole guy who just froze you for some reason. Not sure why, but he's there. Paint Misbehaving starts off more corridor-like, until you open this door, which leads you to a more open section with an extremely perilous water section. Mind-blowing admittedly had me stumped for a bit, as there are multiple split paths like this one area with these bouncing mushrooms, and not much else. Whereas for the rest of the level, you'll want to head here. I'd also say this level is when the difficulty starts to kick it up a notch, with sections like giant boulders, minecarts, and this grappling area. Arabian Flights is one of the more impressive levels in the game, as it's this big open area where you ride this magic carpet across the sky, which I imagine must have been cool as hell for the time, as you can just fly about as much as you want, even if the limitations in draw distance are quite obvious here. There are still platforming sections here, like traversing down this tower while avoiding fans that blow you in ways you don't want them to. And then there's Pyramid Scheme, the other most impressive level in the game. It's arguably the biggest in the game, and that's because of this day and night switching platform. In daylight you'll have bright and grassy fields and river, and at night it's just lava and brimstone. Wait, that is what brimstone is, right? Or maybe it's just dark rock, whatever. And if that wasn't enough, parts of the level design can be altered between the two, leading you to have to experiment with switching back and forth between the areas to solve puzzles. Lastly, there's Food Fright. This level is really big, on a vertical scale anyway. The starting section is fairly basic, with multiple sections cornered off from each other. I'd say the level doesn't truly begin until you've collected the machine parts, which will then allow you to traverse your way up to the top and keep facing new challenges on your way. And once you're there, you're in this big open area full of green, toxic, sweet water. I mean, the level is sweet themed, but the water hurts you, so it must be toxic of some kind. Definitely the most difficult of the main levels, as this is where dying can probably be the biggest nuisance, as you'll need to climb to the top of the level every time, which isn't difficult, just a tad tedious. Not helped by these damn tubes that drop you back to the start of the level. Something I learned the hard way, so thanks for that game. The level also has this one section where you make your way to the end of this river stream while avoiding various obstacles, which by the way they do not hold back in this section, so watch yourself. And look out for this tunnel on the left, as it houses a ticket that you can easily miss by going over the ramp here, meaning you'll have to go through the river boot camp from hell all over again. Something I learned the hard way, so thanks for that. Every level has 7 of these machine parts scattered around that will open up some of the closed off segments that I mentioned earlier. And these can be quite well hidden as well. Although the final level feels kind of rushed in that regard because they're all scattered near the start of the level, which is quite compact. So there's not a lot of places for them to hide. Another thing every level houses are vehicles, some of which are quite simple, like the hot dog car, the magic carpet, or this bug boat thing. Then there are ones that are slightly more complex, like this dolphin boat that you can actually use to jump in and out of water like a real dolphin. There's a paint tank that can actually paint any parts of the level with a variety of colours. It's a small thing, but it's pretty cool. The coolest in my eyes goes to the hover bike, as I found flying around the level maintaining altitude and figuring out the optimal route for certain high points to be quite rewarding. Oh, and there's also this forklift thing that you use on these cages a couple of times. Yeah, not much to say about this one. The levels also have these clown security robot types whose only purpose is to inconvenience you by any means, as they'll try to block you and even take items away from you. They don't hurt you, but you can't hurt them either. I know, I tried. Oh man, I tried. However, forget the clowns, forget the enemies, forget Jojo. They all have nothing on this game's camera, but I feel context is necessary. As you probably know, dual analog controllers weren't a thing yet, as when Sony first released the PlayStation, the DualShocks first looked like this, but then later on they looked like this, and then they've remained consistent ever since. Whereas Nintendo opted for an analog stick for full 3D movement, which definitely was the correct decision, even if the controller itself is a freak of nature. Seriously, in what universe was 3 handles comfortable? Whose idea was that? Anyway, with the controller's C buttons, most games use them for moving the camera around. I haven't played Mario 64 in its entirety for a while, but I remember it being fine, just prone to getting stuck on the wall a lot. So how was it in this game? Well, it's not terrible. It's just fucking terrible. My god, this thing has a mind of its own so egregious that they may as well have made it automatic. Getting stuck on walls is one thing, but the amount of times it would automatically shift its position, completely screwing me over, was enough for me to throw myself through the roof. Like this ring challenge I failed multiple times. Because of the weird angles, the camera would be locked due to how claustrophobic it is. Sure, adjusting the distance and going in for a proper look around your surroundings is nice and all, but it can't redeem the utter bollocks that was this camera. Curses! Now, I'm by no means an expert on collectathons. I've only played and enjoyed a handful. But of the ones I have played, I feel confident in calling Rocket one of the better ones. And that all comes down to one thing, 100%. To me, the thing that makes or breaks a good collectathon is whether going for completion is worth it. And thankfully, Rocket offers the perfect balance that I'm looking for. Overall, the ticket challenges didn't feel too difficult or overly complicated, yet also wasn't so easy that I could beat it with 3 arms tied behind my back while blindfolded in handcuffs with my brain in a jar while a burglar holds my family hostage. One of my biggest pet peeves is when collectibles are just kind of placed in an easy reachable spot with little thought and require no effort to reach it. Mario Odyssey was especially guilty of this design philosophy. Now I know what you're thinking, but will she? Mario Odyssey has over 900 power moons throughout the game, so they had to place some of them in simple locations, right? And to that I will say, okay, but did Mario Odyssey need to have that many power moons in the game?
I don't think so.
Anyway, let's move on before I start treading on thin ice. My point is, just about every collectible feels rewarding to collect, whether it's done by tricky platforming or completing some type of minigame. Some will revolve around a tricky puzzle, like switching the day and night cycle to figure out the position of this dial thingy, or finding the solution here for a puzzle at night and then going back to the day and inputting it there. Some will expect you to act quickly, like placing these metal blocks on a magnetic wall to reach the top, flying from tower to tower in quick succession, very quickly flipping these turtles over, or throwing these bombs at the statue's eyes, which will restore even after the ticket appears, so no gallivanting. Then you've got your average platforming hurdles, like jumping on all these platforms in order to shut down a barrier. Failed this one more than I'm willing to admit. Or figuring out that I needed to bring a bomb down here in order to blow up this wall. I was really proud of that one. And we can't forget the mini games like feeding this monster the right colored sweets before he explodes, racing this RC car dude, building your own roller coaster track in the correct sequence. This one was pretty difficult. And of course this series of carnival games such as throwing balls at these nutcracker ass looking presidents. Like, why do they look like that? Why do they look like that? Throwing balls at these cats, and of course playing tic-tac-toe against this robot chicken. Which, funny story by the way, I had actually planned this to be my first video before deciding to do Mirror's Edge instead. And when I got to this part, I was stuck on it for probably at least half an hour until I finally won. Then I decided to start fresh as I had taken a long break from this game, and most of my footage kind of looked like shit anyway. So when I got to this point again, I tried for a few minutes before having to leave it, remembering how long it took me the first time. When I came back to it again, I was so ready to write a whole rant about this damn robo-cock, only to win within less than 5 minutes. After all of that, geez, talk about anticlimactic. Those are some of the standout challenges. There are also some that repeat across every level, such as the aforementioned machine parts, these ring races, and collecting all 200 tokens in each level. I was so worried this would be the death of me as I try to avoid using a guide as much as possible. Still haven't forgiven Mario Sunshine for that blue coin nonsense. But to my surprise, it actually wasn't too bad. The only times I caved in for a guide was in Paint Misbehaving, where one was hidden in this corner here, and in Pyramid Scheme where I had to fly the bike over to reach it. But to be fair, the draw distance did handicap that one a little bit, so it's not entirely my fault. I also admittedly used a guide for one of the tickets in Arabian Flights, where you fly under these coloured towers in a sequenced order. I still have no idea how you figure this one out, as I couldn't find any hints on the correct pattern. The one the game does give you wasn't that helpful at all, and even getting it to appear still felt like luck. However, I'd argue the most well-hidden tickets are actually located in the Whoopee World Hub. Some I could have figured out with some more usage of my head, like this one behind Paint Misbehaving, or this hole above Mind Blowing. God knows how I missed that one. And I suppose this one inside the JoJo statue. The hint says from the raccoon's mouth, which I interpreted as having to interrogate him or something. But then there's this one where you just go over here and a random door will eventually open, I guess. I'm not sure what triggers it, honestly. And of course reaching this one threw me through a loop for the longest time. Kept making my way through that trippy lava section thinking it would be somewhere here, only to find out that it's actually through here.
Sigh.
Seriously? Come on guys, that is bullshit design in its worst form. Who the hell would ever think to do that? Which naturally brings us to the climax, as we confront JoJo in his newly built park JoJo World. The raccoon expresses his anger at our success, and he vents about his frustrations that ultimately led to his scheme in the first place, after calling Rocket a runty, rattling rust bucket, and decides that we'll make a good test subject for the brand new park. And a test is certainly an accurate description, as this level does not hold back. So I hope you stacked up on health upgrades, cause you're gonna need them. It's also a really long level, and dying of course sends you all the way back to the start, so that'll certainly keep you on your toes. Now there are a few things I like about this level. Firstly, the environment just being this big black void as certain objects fade in. It really adds an ominous feeling that this is the villain's secret hideout. A great example of limitations enhancing the experience. Secondly, it throws so much at you that it really feels like a climactic way to cap off the adventure. Even though I mistakenly did this before Food Fry, but we'll ignore that. It also brings back this painting challenge where you match up with this guard robot so he'll let you in. This first came up in Paint Misbehaving, but I couldn't show it because my footage for it sadly got corrupted. However, it was far more forgiving there, because here? Oh my god, this was the most annoying section of the level for a number of reasons. Let's see, trying to angle your body in hopes of painting the half you wanted, because if you do it wrong, you have to wash it off and start all over. It's awkward as fuck and I kinda hate it. Next, make your way to the guard while avoiding enemies that shoot paint at you, because of course they do. And when I made it through the first time... Oh, thanks game, that was very nice. All while dealing with a frame rate that's akin to a boxing match with Anthony Joshua. You might as well just cut the cord at that point. Okay, in fairness, that only happened on my first attempt. When I came back the following day, it was running a lot smoother. There were also moments where I seriously questioned if they even playtested this level, and my answer always ranged from kinda, sorta, maybe to how the f should I know, I wasn't there, was I? The big one being this magnet section where you throw these metal crates at these magnets and quickly grapple onto them. But I swear it hardly worked most of the time, like seriously, what am I doing wrong here? Then there was other moments, like these bombs not blowing off the fan blades even though I'm clearly making contact, so I don't know what's going on there, or the metal crates just rolling off the platform no matter how lightly I threw them. Shit like that just tells me the physics engine is getting a little carried away. And when I reached this moment with the mechanical spider, I assumed you had to swiftly make it past the legs, which as you can see is easier said than done. When I got to this moment, I could just tell it would be the death of me, but I persevered, only to find out halfway through that you can actually use the bombs to blow the legs off. And then I wondered why the bombs didn't spawn at the start, only when I checked through my footage, they actually did. After I already passed them. Why? Why couldn't they have already been spawned from the start? They didn't seem to have problems with that before. Somebody please make it make sense, like what the hell? You could argue it's my fault for not using my eyes properly, and you'd be correct. But I'm blaming the game anyway, because I'm British and that's what we do. Also, this is more a nitpick, but why is this platform here? I assume we had to blow the eyes out or something, but that's not the case. Nor is it necessary for jumping onto the spider, as you can do that over here, so why is this platform here? Just feels misleading. Nevertheless, once as we make our way to the final obstacle, Jojo humorously starts panicking and tries bargaining with Rocket. Can't we just make some kind of deal? How about 70-30? 60-40? Okay, 50-50, ending with the obligatory no! As we crash his giant spear through his smug face. Doing all of that, the raccoon is defeated, the walrus is free, and the park is saved, for which Dr. Gavin conveniently returns just in time to congratulate us. But despite that, the credits don't roll, as we still need to collect the remaining tickets. Doing so, Gavin rewards Rocket by renaming the park as Rocket Land in his name, and we are taken to this little secret area that's essentially the game's credits. Honestly, this is kind of endearing, I dig this. Yeah, I'm serious, I love it when developers put little quirky things in their games like this. Shows they had a lot of fun making this, and each of them changing their expression or their appearance when you interact with them is a really nice touch. More games should include this, it's a great reward. Oggy, what did you do? So that about covers my thoughts on this game. All in all, not a bad first outing for a studio. Consider me impressed, Sucker Punch. When I first went into this game, I expected to not really care for it or just consider it fine at best, but I actually had a really good time with this game. For a console with a ginormous roster of 3D platformers, I feel confident in saying Rocket holds up as one of the better ones, as I gave a few of the others a quick playthrough for comparison's sake, and honestly, outside of Mario 64 and Rayman 2, none of them really left much of an impression on me. Sadly, to this day, this game has never seen a re-release of any kind, so if you've still got the means to play it and are willing to look past these rather extortionate prices, then I would say absolutely give this game a shot, especially if you like Sucker Punch's other works or are a fan of the genre. As for those without the required console, well, I suppose there are other methods, but you didn't hear that from me. Will the game see a release on the Switch or Switch 2's N64 emulator? I don't know, whether it's Nintendo or Ubisoft that own the rights, the odds seem highly unlikely, which just further shows how slept on this game is with the studio's later endeavours receiving acclaim across the board, yet this game seems relatively forgotten. Though I can understand why, I mean it's the only Sucker Punch game to not release on a Sony system, and as of now it has not been re-released in any capacity. And while it may have been a success critically, commercially, not so much, barely selling over 100,000 units according to VG charts. In hindsight, there's probably a number of reasons as to why that's the case. I mean, the N64 was flooded with 3D platformers back then, so no doubt the competition was high. Rocket's design was also way too simple to grab any kid's attention. He kinda looks like the Pixar lamp, but on a wheel and, you know, red. And you can just tell the title was a last minute decision because it's not even accurate. It's called Rocket Robot on Wheels, yet there's only one wheel, so wrap your head around that. But I can't fault the game too much, as despite all of that, it was still a bold first attempt by an ambitious new studio, and it just oozes with charm, like these JoJo portraits. They remind me of the Murphy Stones from Rayman 2, the way Rocket shouts yeah and woohoo. And some of the sound effects might sound a bit stock and dated, but that just makes it funnier to me. And if this game had to walk so their later games could run, then I'd say it was worth it, as soon after the studio would begin their never-ending partnership with Sony and officially find their footing. But that's a story for another day. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Didn't expect to have this much to say about this game, but you know, life is full of surprises. Hope you'll continue to join me on this retrospective as we progress through the studio's entire gaming library, the next of course being the niche but iconic Sly Cooper trilogy for the PlayStation 2. All in one video, followed by the infamous series and then concluding with the Ghost duology. But until then, stay cool and take care. Hey guys, I want to thank you for watching once again. I just wanted to mention that recently the channel got over 10,000 subscribers, so I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I'm appreciative regardless, so thank you for watching. I'll try to get more videos out quicker. I've been wanting to try and do some indie game reviews just to put a little more videos out there while working on the big stuff, because as you know, like with this retrospective, I thought this might be a little unique twist on the whole game retrospective idea, and we'll see how it goes, really. So as I'm working on the Sly Cooper trilogy, yep, all three games on PS2 in one video. That won't be next, but I know that'll be a big video, so in the meantime I'll try and sprinkle some other videos in. And also just want to mention, apologize if there's like any background noise or something throughout the video. I'm currently living in a place with thin walls, I suppose I should call it, so but I'll try my best to alleviate that in the future. But until then, thanks for watching once again. Check me out on Twitch. I just did a playthrough of GTA 3, so yeah, and take care.